All right, so the first block we had some miscellaneous clips that we got to take care of. So New York City had video this past week published by the New York Post of what appears to be some sort of UFO just flying down the river. I don't know. See what you see in the video. I don't want to tell you what I saw. I do want to say whatever's in that video, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's a piece of video. Who knows? But when Lisa and I were in a park one time, we were in Riverside Park. Everybody in the park saw these things up in the air that were like clear, they're like translucent type spheres. And I thought maybe they were balloons. And then they went in different directions from each other. So I was like, those aren't balloons. So I don't know. We saw some phenomenon one day. I don't want to say it's aliens. I don't want to say it's UFOs because I have no evidence of those things. I saw something that was unidentified, yet to be explained. This thing in the video kind of is a similar thing. I don't know if it's any relation or not. So we're just going to put it in the time capsule. It happened. And then the other story in there was what? Because we've talked about so many things since we started this clip. The Rothschild family member who died in a house fire. So it's Hollywood Hills. I think it's William Rothschild. I did find a clip of someone who ran for political office with the same name, but I don't think it's the same person, though it may be, but we haven't verified. So we're not showing you that. We're going to show you what the news is, and then we can understand from there. Some people have speculated that it was a ritual, burning type of thing. Some people have speculated that that was the Illuminati part of the Rothschild family. They might have called themselves or referred to themselves as that. So we're going to have to get into that news, but I'll just give you the clip so you can find out about the event. And then we'll look at the New York Post clip because that's pretty quick too. And then we'll come back and then we have to get into some World War III type coverage.
Breaking right now at 11 o'clock, a deadly house fire in the Hollywood Hills. And tonight we're learning about the man with a very famous last name who lived and died there. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand live in the Hollywood Hills with the breaking new details tonight. Jory.
Mark, firefighters had a difficult time accessing this home because it's set so far back off the road, and it's at the top of a very steep hill with a very thin stairwell leading up there. Once they did access the home, they made the tragic discovery inside, and it turns out the man who lived there might have been a billionaire. Hollywood Hills neighbors did everything they could to put out this raging fire that broke out in a home on Lookout Mountain Avenue.
I was going up the stairs, and right as I approached the top of the stairs, the flames burst out of the house.
Firefighters knocked down the flames in about 20 minutes, but found the home's elderly occupant dead inside. Neighbors identifying him as Will Rothschild of the Rothschild family.
We're getting a new roof put on tomorrow, and so I told my wife to email him to make sure it's okay that we use part of his driveway. And he never responded. And I said, well, that's so unlike him.
Rothschild is described by neighbors as an eccentric millionaire or even billionaire with multiple properties and dozens of some of the most expensive cars on earth. But on a street lined with multi-million-dollar homes and mansions occupied by celebrities and the powerful, Rothschild was said to have lived as a bit of a recluse in a small, old, rickety home in conditions described as that of a hoarder, something the fire department seemed to tactfully confirm tonight.
Given the fire damage, it's kind of hard to determine how much of that was prior to the fire and how much of it is the building itself that has been demolished by the fire.
And while some neighbors had never even seen him and assumed the house was vacant, those that did know him are saddened by the loss.
It is very sad. He was a good guy, good neighbor.
This is very tough for those that knew him. Arson investigators were on scene, but the fire department tells me that is typical for any fire in which someone loses their life. Once they cleared their investigation, the coroner came to remove the body. We are now awaiting a cause of death to see whether he had passed before the fire or he perished within the fire. Now we await to see what kind of treasures may have been inside of this. We've already gotten a peek at some of the cars on the property. There are high-end vintage cars, including one that a neighbor says once belonged to Michael Jordan. We're live in the Hollywood Hills tonight. Jory Rand, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Breaking right now at 11 o'clock, a deadly house fire in the Hollywood Hills.
Claiming there was an incomplete environmental review prior to launching the plan.
like an object flying very fast over the water, very close to the water.
I had a different source entirely describe this pretty extraordinary footage that exists of orbs, of an orb coming out of the ocean and being met by another orb.
Who knows? Did you know, Scott, you ever see the drones that follow the race cars? So they have these drones that fly, like 200 miles an hour, and they kind of look like that. I don't know what's in that footage, but the reason I put the footage in tonight's time capsule is it's not shot by a civilian. That's from a helicopter TV type camera. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
I also know it's like Project Blue Book disclosure season, that they're looking to distract people with a bunch of nonsense about they, them, those who are not actually the ones that are your oppressors.
Yep. And then I saw like the blip there where they talked about a quote from Avi Loeb. You remember the reference to Avi Loeb? Yeah. So he's the guy who wrote the whole piece about the Amura, however you pronounce that. You remember that one? That whole story? The about how we were visited by an alien spacecraft, Amura, whatever. Amuamua. You know what I'm talking about, Rich? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I do.
You don't know about Amuamua? Okay, so he's a Harvard professor, right? Or something like that. Harvard University astrophysicist who literally wrote a paper about how this Amuamua was it was like
you're talking about the big asteroid?
The asteroid that he determined, he wrote the whole scholarly paper about how it was an alien spacecraft from another galaxy.
Yeah, right here.
Visited us. Yes.
That's why I had trouble placing it, because I don't know how to spell it in my brain.
Yeah. So it's that guy. So I don't
fascinating.
know.
He's an Israeli defense program guy. Interesting. Idea strategic initiative. I'm just saying he might have other interests other than astronomy. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Totally.
There might be some psychological warfare agenda at play here.
Yeah, I
mean,
he probably
with a little science.
He'll probably be one of the go-to guys for the blue beam type situation for sure. He's already read in on that whole situation.
So he's got IDF and U.S. Defense Department. So it's really Anglo-American Israeli establishment type of situation there. Okay, yeah, I've seen him on Lex Friedman or Rogan. That's probably where I've seen him. What? He was on the He podcast, H3H3? With the guy says you don't even have to think about it? That's interesting. He's got Guggenheim Fellowship, Hebrew University, Tel Aviv University, Cornell. Well, he's a fascinating character. Thanks for putting him more on my radar. He was more like a passerby before, but now I'm getting his number.
Totally. I mean, I remember when that happened, when that paper came out, obviously it was big in all the conspiracy circles, and everyone's like, this is like disclosure. We're this close to disclosure. Like, here it is. But then everyone was just like, whatever. It's like a Harvard professor just wrote a paper about how we were just visited by, he proved, using his physics and his numbers, he proved, according to him, that we were just visited by an intelligent life form from a far off galaxy, and everyone's just like, whatever. It's like, what? I don't even know what to make of that. But that's the era that we're in. I always joke about it. The conspiracy theorists are now the ones saying no, they're lying about.
Yeah, hold on, wait, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So those are the things that were the short and sweets. Now we have to get into.
I will say I'm going to be in New York City this week, so I will report if I see any flying phenomenon. I will definitely report back. You'll be the first to know.
Hey, there you go. All right, so this next section, did you guys know FEMA put out a World War III guide? How to protect yourself, World War III type situations. I mean, New York City was running nuclear fallout ads a month or so ago. So it's not like there's not been little canaries in a coal mine tipping over the whole time. But when FEMA's coming out with, FEMA doesn't plan for its own stuff here domestically. But if you're planning for NATO type, I don't know. We have to take a look at it. Because otherwise you don't want to wake up and not know what's going on. You want to know what the angle is. You want to know a little bit ahead of time so you can get your family safe and have supplies or whatever they're doing out there in stupid land. So in this block, we're going to hear from Putin, but first we have to hear from FEMA. And then we also have from Defense News. I found this past week because I thought it was fake. I was like, watch Ukrainian uncrewed aerial mothership launch kamikaze drones. So I just want to point to the precedent that is being set in this whole Franz Ferdinand type situation, right? Like the things that kicked off World War I, nobody cared or was paying attention to, allegedly, back in the day, right? We think some guy gets bumped off in a far off land. Next thing you know, everyone you know is involved in the war effort for the next 4 or 5 years. These types of things continue to repeat and precipitate throughout history. So if we don't learn the patterns and say, oh, this thing's coming up, we should position ourselves to survive it instead of be the fodder for it. Like you don't get to tell the story to the next generation. So in this, keep an eye on the fact that they're setting precedent with drones launching drones that are kamikazes and, evocative of, again, Pearl Harbor, World War II, these sort of things. So it's like they're getting the branding machine kind of revved up at this point. They're bringing the toys out to play with, right, that no one's seen before. From the United States side, they do it through disclosure or whatever, but that's just so you don't freak out when you see that stuff flying around at one point. There might be footage of unprecedented unmanned aerial vehicles used on 9/11 in some of the footage. You might slow some of that stuff down and see other things flying through at very high speeds such that you ignore them because you think at that time we have nothing that flies that fast. So there's things that go on. So let's take a look at this footage and see what we can understand about the Zelensky, NATO, Putin concoction that they've got going on, percolating over there.
Right now, there are several viral articles alleging that a NATO chief has suggested NATO will strike Russia first. Likely not real. What it seems to be is that this individual said if Russia launches missiles against NATO, NATO would respond then by striking Russian launch sites. This is being conflated as a preemptive attack against Russia, but they are saying only in the event Russia attacks us. Now, we have heard that the UK and France are considering sending European troops into Ukraine to engage this war directly. I don't think anybody with any reasonable sense considers this to just be Russia versus Ukraine at this point especially. But what is particularly alarming are the numerous articles about how FEMA has issued a nuclear attack survival guide. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're paying attention. Now, it could just be that they release these periodically, and they do. They released them in 2018. There's one from 2023. I found these. So this could just be media fear-mongering. But my friends, there are many reports suggesting that the escalation is upon us. Russia is suggesting they could strike NATO countries because NATO is basically who's backing this war in Ukraine. Sure, the bodies are private volunteers of people all over the world. A lot of Americans, not as many as Ukrainians, but Russia does not consider this to just be Ukraine. And the question then becomes, would Russia be willing to use nuclear artillery, low-yield nuclear weapons ranging from about a kiloton or so, if it means shutting down the Ukrainian offensive into Kursk and the attacks on Bryansk with these ATACMS missiles that they've now used several times? I can't tell you. I don't know. All I can tell you is that I read various news reports, and Russia is reporting that NATO is threatening preemptive strikes. Of course, that's the game they're going to play. We'll start here with this story from Daily Star. World War III fears as nuclear warning from U.S. government highlights area 15 minutes from disaster. The U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency has issued a chilling guide on how to survive a nuclear attack as global tensions rise amid the conflict in Ukraine and Middle Eastern disputes grow more heated. There's also been reports that Russia is not only recruiting North Koreans to fight in this war, but people from Yemen as well. They are going to start pulling in many fighters from various parts of the world because they don't intend to lose. Now, the question is, why do they not escalate much more dramatically? We don't know. There are concerns that 2 undersea cables were just severed by a Chinese vessel as an act of sabotage. Good luck, my friends. I hope, as long as we are reading this news, you are just prepared for the worst. I hope that y'all hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Here's a story from the Daily Star. As global tensions mount, U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency has released a spine-chilling survival guide for a nuclear attack amid the escalating Ukraine conflict. Echoing Cold War era preparedness, the agency's updated advice aims to shield Americans from the horrors of a nuclear explosion. A nuclear simulation grimly tallies the death toll should Russia target Washington, D.C. with a nuke. The numbers are staggering, reports the Irish Star. FEMA's somber instructions are stark. Nuclear explosions can cause significant damage and casualties from blast heat and radiation, but you can keep your family safe by knowing what to do and being prepared if it occurs, underscoring the critical nature of this knowledge for survival. Now, we have this one from MSN.com. It's Dagan's India. NATO will hit Russian launch sites if Putin makes the first move. And I think this is important because a lot of people are reporting that Putin is threatening that NATO is threatening a first strike. Does not appear to be the case. I've looked into it, and it appears that this guy Bauer, I believe his name is, Admiral Rob Bauer, chairman of NATO's military committee, said, if they launch missiles at us, we intercept those missiles, we strike their targets. Meaning, if Russia attacks NATO first, this is not a preemptive strike. It is still particularly worrying. They report NATO would respond to any Russian attack by targeting Russian launch sites, though it has no intention of striking first. This was stated by Admiral Rob Bauer, chairman of NATO's military committee, during a discussion at the European Policy Center. Bauer addressed the need for NATO countries to invest more in air defense and long-range strike capabilities, citing the ongoing threat from Russia. He welcomed NATO's growing emphasis on long-range systems, calling it a necessary shift in strategy. Quote, previously, as a defensive alliance, our approach was to wait until we were attacked, then intercept missiles. However, it's more effective to not only intercept, but also strike the launchers in Russia if we are attacked. He added, it's smarter to neutralize the threat at its source rather than just react. If Russia attacks, targeting their launchers would be essential to protect alliance members. While reiterating NATO's defensive stance, Bauer acknowledged that taking preemptive measures in response to an imminent attack could be crucial. Despite the heightened rhetoric, Bauer noted that Russia's military capabilities have been weakened after more than 2 years of war. He described Russia as less of a threat to NATO than it was in February. As part of its preparations for potential conflict with Russia, NATO has assigned Estonia a key role in its strategic framework. Estonia is tasked with enhancing its long-range strike capabilities, focusing on potential targets within Russia. Major General Vahir Karus, chief of the Estonian Defense Forces, emphasized the importance of pinpointing specific targets to safeguard NATO's eastern flank. And of course, Russian state TV host threatens strikes on NATO countries. I always love it when it's Russian TV doing this, as if I don't know, Anderson Cooper would go on TV and be like, oh, we're going to do this or that or otherwise. I'm telling you, Russia. It shows you the difference between the U.S. and Russian media. Russian state media is it's Russian government. I know we talk about the corporate press in this country, but there is still at least some minor distinction. To be fair, though, MSNBC, and CNN do like to bring in a lot of deep state retirees to commentate on these shows, and many of them do very much the same, saying the U.S. would do this, they will do this. So, not the hosts themselves, but they may as well be. Now, my friends, I can't make predictions about what happens. Maybe Trump gets into office and this stops. I certainly hope so. But I'm going to give a shout out to safeandreadymeals.com. Many of you already have these. If you don't, I recommend them because we have a bunch. And it looks like prices are actually stable a little bit because these things sometimes get expensive based on what the prices are going to be. But consider it at safeandreadymeals.com. When we've got stories about war or pandemics or whatever it may be, I just got to tell you, my friends, you get a couple of these buckets, you put them in the closet, you forget them. Do you use it? Well, TV propagandist Vladimir Solovyov has warned that Russian President Vladimir Putin may soon order strikes on European NATO members as Moscow's war with Ukraine continues. The Russia-Ukraine war has recently escalated following Joe Biden's decision authorizing Kiev to use U.S.-made weapons to strike targets inside Russia. Now, this is where things are absolutely insane. Let me see if I can pull up the Ukraine war map right here. So you've got the main offensive, which is basically Russia seizing. This is the oblasts of Luhansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, Zaporizhia. I could be wrong. I am not... I'm not, so it's not Zaporizhia. Is it Zaporizhia? Yeah. I believe this, or or they say Melitopol is the city. You've got Kherson. Russia seems to have seized this whole region because they want to control the Sea of Azov and access to Sevastopol. If we look up here, we can see the Kharkiv offensive and the Kursk incursion, areas where Ukraine is striking into Russia. The questions are, why? Honest question. I mean, I don't know. Take a look at this. This is not near the main offensive. Could it be that the Ukrainians, the West, it's not just Ukraine, are trying to, with strikes on Bryansk and Kursk, force Russia to redirect its military to defend these areas? I got to say, it's not looking good for Ukraine. Now, they keep saying this stuff. You had Klitschko the other day. He said, Putin's war was supposed to be 3 days. It is 3 years. And it's like, sure. I mean, but if he controls the entire Donbass region into the land, into Crimea, all the way down into Crimea and the Sea of Azov, seems like he won. You're just still fighting in other areas. It looks like it's just been good for Putin. Not that I like him. The question then arises with the use of ATACMS on Russian territory. These are U.S. missiles. With Russia launching intermediate-range ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, they say the U.S. has no countermeasures. Does this escalate into nuclear war? Well, we talked about it a bit last night on the Members Only show, and I believe the concern is the use of tactical nuclear weapons, artillery, low-yield nuclear weapons to shut down these areas. So as we were discussing it last night, my statement was, if Russia feels like there is an incursion into Russian territory that they can't control, and these missiles are being launched, they will flatten these launch points. Now, the rebuttal was, yes, but they use HIMARS, high mobility, sites. So these are vehicles that can move around and launch. Yes, but if the concern, I suppose, and largely not necessarily my opinions, because I just read the news, and this is what people are saying in corporate press and the media and various news sources. If Russia were to use tactical nuclear artillery in and around these areas, irradiating it or just making it, unnavigable, or however you'd want to describe it, they're not going to be moving in these directions. That is, Russia could flatten these areas inside of Ukraine near Sumy so that the Ukrainians are not mobile in that area, to put it lightly. I don't know for sure, but I'll give you the brief overview. PBS says, unlike nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles that can destroy entire cities, tactical nuclear weapons for use against troops on the battlefield are less powerful.
Ukraine's domestically developed Dovbush T-10 drone has taken on a groundbreaking new role as a mothership for first-person view FPV kamikaze quadcopters. In this configuration, the T-10 serves as both a carrier for these drones and a critical signal relay node, bridging the connection between highly agile attack drones and their operators. A recent video posted by Serhiy Beskresnov on his Telegram channel demonstrates this capability. The footage shows the T-10 carrying 2 FPV kamikaze drones, one beneath each wing. Beskresnov, a Ukrainian service member and expert in radio technologies and military electronics, frequently shares insights on emerging uncrewed aerial systems, electronic warfare, and other battlefield innovations. According to Beskresnov, the T-10 can carry up to 6 FPV drones at a time. In the test footage, each drone is released from an inverted position under the T-10's wings. Once deployed, the drones flip upright and head toward their target. The video depicts a pickup truck serving as the test target for the kamikaze drones. The T-10 was first unveiled in late 2022 as a surveillance and reconnaissance platform, with a range of approximately 35 kilometers, 22 miles. It can also be employed as a one-way attack drone, carrying a nearly 12-kilogram, 26.5-pound warhead. With a reported cost of around $12,000 per unit, it offers a relatively affordable option for modern warfare. The drone is typically launched using a rack system mounted on a pickup truck, which provides the speed necessary for takeoff. However, details on how the T-10 is recovered post-mission remain unclear. Notably, the T-10 is equipped with an inertial navigation system, INS, as a backup to GPS, ensuring operational continuity in the face of jamming, a common threat on the battlefield in Ukraine. As a mothership, the T-10 extends the effective range of short-range FPV drones by deploying them at the edge of its combat radius. This configuration also grants the FPVs additional loiter time, allowing them to identify or reposition themselves toward their targets. They can even abort an initial attack and return for a strike from an unexpected angle. Placing the signal relay on the mothership, which orbits above the operational zone, brings it closer to the FPVs and enhances connectivity between the drones and their operators. This integration significantly boosts the system's effectiveness. While the T-10 is not the first example of a drone mothership to emerge in the conflict in Ukraine, Russian forces have similarly employed larger drones as aerial launch platforms and relay nodes. It underscores the growing importance of such combinations in modern warfare. Militaries like the U.S. have also been exploring similar nested, uncrewed aerial capabilities in other contexts. The addition of artificial intelligence to these systems could further revolutionize the role of FPV kamikaze drones. AI-driven targeting would enhance precision, particularly during the terminal phase of flight, where human operators currently must manually guide the drones to their targets. AI could also offer backup capabilities in the event of signal disruption or the destruction of the mothership.
And we start with the latest missile and drone barrage across Ukraine overnight, targeting the country's energy facilities just in time for the winter deep freeze. Air raid sirens sounded across the country, pushing people to take shelter inside Kyiv's subway system. This is also Russian President Vladimir Putin's form of politics. He says the attack was in response to strikes inside Russia with U.S. weapons.
Last night, we carried out a comprehensive strike using 90 missiles of similar classes and 100 drones. 17 targets were hit. These were military facilities, defense industry facilities, and their support systems. I repeat once again, on our part, these strikes took place in response to the continuous strikes on Russian territory by American ATACMS missiles. As I have said many times, there will always be a response from our side.
President Zelensky says this all just highlights his country's need for more air defenses. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is in central Ukraine following these latest developments. Nick, thank you very much for being there on this very cold and late night in Ukraine. You've come from the front lines, and what have you seen there in terms of the ability to match Russia's troops and its firepower?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very stark picture, Christian, on the front lines at this stage. Probably the worst I've seen in nearly 3 years of coming here. Certainly near Pokrovsk, where we were, which is a vital Ukrainian military hub against which there is a lot of Russian pressure from multiple different directions. The soldiers we spoke to were clear. For the first time, frankly, I've heard soldiers saying they simply had run out of men. One of them said he felt alone and essentially the conversation was about how the next couple of months might indeed see a severe worsening of their situation on that front line there. We saw on videos from drone feeds ourselves how the Russian assault is just relentless, tank after tank at some points in the day, dropping off infantry that stay in tree lines. They get hit by the drones that Ukraine really have to rely on now to try and slow down these Russian infantry advances, because Ukraine is so short of infantry themselves. But it isn't simply enough at all. And one soldier said to me, look, they dropped 2 off. 2 might survive the first assault. Russia has a huge tolerance of casualties for these, what they call storm waves. But then another 10 arrived to reinforce them. Maps we were shown were out of date by the time they went up on the screen, frankly, because Russia had been pushing too far forwards. And that's just around Pokrovsk. To its south, there's another Russian progress movement as well. To the north, east of there, another push too. So consistent concerns that we are seeing a very relentless Russian move. They are outnumbering the Ukrainian troops on the front line, certainly. And above all of this, in the background, is these assaults we've been seeing against energy infrastructure. Today's was the 11th that's happened so far this year. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said 90 missiles and 100 drones. On Tuesday, they had a record number of drones fired at Ukraine of 188. These waves of air assaults keep people up all night. They are staggering. They're going to do damage to Ukraine's ability to keep itself warm and the lights on during this particular winter. And it's the election of President-elect Donald Trump that has many concern too. He's just appointed Ukrainian Special Envoy, General Keith Kellogg, to potentially negotiate a solution here. In fact, Putin, in his comments, suggested that Trump was both experienced and capable and might be able to find a solution. Kellogg's solution essentially freezes the front line, according to a plan he wrote back in April, and would ask Ukraine to accept security guarantees, but also pursue the return of all of its lands only through diplomacy. It's a complex plan, certainly. It seems simple on the surface, and it relies on a lot of, I think, malleability and agreement from Vladimir Putin, who right now appears to see his chance. Christian?
Indeed. As everybody waits for what Trump will do. Nick Payton-Walsh, thank you. And of course, security.
All right, so they haven't been de-escalating over there in that situation, but maybe this Kellogg guy, I don't know. They make good cereal? No. Kellogg's cereal was developed in a mental institution for its inmates. So those are fun facts about your cornflakes and Special K. But if somebody has a plan to freeze the front line and to carry on diplomacy, I think that's probably good. I haven't seen anything since the ceasefire a couple years ago that Britain said no to. I think it was Boris Johnson. They were going to stop fighting, and the UK said, you got to keep fighting, because they pay for all the fighting over there. A lot of it. We pay for a lot of it too, so...
Yeah. And it's just so shocking, like the mainstream narrative for all these years since the conflict started, or the war, or whatever. It's like it's Putin's like the psychopath. Like, but dude, I would say just watching him navigate this whole thing, where it's like they're just literally just poking him in the eyeball over and over, and he's just like, it's almost like a huge flex of his power to not respond in a diabolically just like overly just over the top way. Yeah, just like like he's just like being very measured and just like, okay, that's cute. It's almost like he's looking at like the whole thing is like they're just like little children and play, but their play sets like, okay. Like,
I think it's because he's not a tall man, but he's taller than Stalin. Stalin, if you look up how tall was Joseph Stalin, you're going to be surprised that guy got away with killing like 40 million people. And really, how'd that work? Well, maybe, he lost his temper a little too fast because he was challenged in certain ways.
5'5"?
Yeah, 5'5". That's the
generous.
It's a generous one.
It's like the Joe Rogan phenomenon where he says
they were so
5'9",
scared of.
but he's like,
they were so scared of Stalin when he died that he was dead in a room for a long time before anybody would even go check to see if he was alive, because they didn't want to have to try to save his life, I guess.
Sure. But yeah,
like divvying up power in the room outside. Is he still making noise? All right, well then I want this, and then when they stopped hearing noise, then they're like, okay, it's safe.
That's wild.
That's no wild way to live. Yeah.
No. So I mean, I don't know, man. It's just fascinating to watch Putin just being like, yeah, dude, like, I could destroy all of you like right now, but I'm not. He's like being the bigger man in all this. It's so crazy to see, dude. And it just and watching the Americans just escalate. Like, imagine if there was like some country just like encroaching on our border like that and like pointing, like shooting missiles, dude. We would eviscerate them. And anybody that had anything to do with any of it, dude. Just the thought of them doing it. Like, so it's just insane to watch. I mean, he knows what he'd be getting into if that were to be the place where he took it. But still, it's just like, it's just so interesting. And anybody that doesn't see it for that is just completely being dishonest. And the media's portrayal of it, of him just being the ultimate bad guy in this. Like, it's like, dude, you guys are leaving so much of the story out. It's just, you guys, you're done. Just pack it up and go home, media. You're done.
I mean, Putin has a walk that you could tell he's probably killed people before.
Oh, totally. Totally.
He's got his, you could tell like he only moves one of his arms when he walks a lot of times, because for a lot of his life, he carried a sidearm. I don't know. He probably still does. And people who carry sidearms tend not to move that arm as much when they walk, because they don't want it very far away from the thing that they might have to use to save their life. So there's certain things you could tell about people just from the way they talk, the way they move, the way they thoughtfully respond or react. And what you're noticing is that Putin, for all his lesser characteristics, does seem to be a thoughtful responder and not someone who flies off the handle, because these people at NATO that have been poking him, I think they should be, signed up for some sort of research or something. They need to be studied. That's not a normal thing for human beings to do to push us toward World War III. And how do we not have this happen again 10, 20 years down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. Like these are the crimes against humanity, is them baiting and poking and prodding and trying to elicit some sort of egregious response from Putin. Like
Not
that's
only that, but I might just notice, because like sometimes it's dangerous to notice stuff, but I would just notice that when the wall came down, if you wanted to take over Russia, that was the time to do it. That was the time to do it. You don't go over, industrialize them, help make them strong so we can fight World War III, because that seems to be what you guys did to Hitler in Germany after World War I. So I've seen these stage plays of theirs before. I don't want to see this one come to a theater near us. That's a war pun. Get it? War theater.
Yep, that's a very good point. Absolutely. The other thing that kind of stood out in that last clip was, showing all those new weapons, all those fancy drones and stuff. We know that the military is moving more towards like what they described as AI-driven targeting. So a lot of the weapon systems being
they already do it. They pioneer it right now in Israel.
100%. Yep, exactly. We've covered that on the show. It's been covered on the show, and it's like, to me, that's a really scary notion that where it's all going to be outsourced and basically, the locus of control and the accountability is going to be shifted over to AI systems, which, I can already see how they're being painted as being infallible, right? The overlords. And so, we're seeing it. It's going to be like, that it's going to be rolled out that way in like medicine, the judicial system, where you have these infallible AIs where everything's being outsourced and offloaded towards. I'm going to do an episode about this on my show this week. I did a fun little experiment where I asked the AI, I was like, okay, so what is the next? So we have the current revolution, like the industrial revolution, the technology revolution, the digital revolution. Right now we're in like the AI quantum revolution of technology. And I asked it, what is the next iteration of the technological revolution after that? And it's like, okay, well, it's going to be this and this and this. And it was just a fun experiment. And I was like, okay, now describe to me in detail the next technological revolution after that. And I did it about 10 times. And it's mind blowing, dude. It's hilarious to watch the AI describe each iteration of the technological revolution as we continue down this path. And I'm just like, and I'm going to do a whole episode on it. Like what the AI is telling you is coming. And like, ultimately it leads to like, this mind blowing singularity of everything. It's just like, it's pretty nuts to see it describe in its own words what is to come according to their whole thing. So the AI targeting system, like we're at that fork in the road where it's like, you guys.
So there is first off, when you see all those drones, what you're realizing is that people who are being killed by those drones are being killed by people who aren't even on the battlefield. So it's no longer for the soldiers on the battlefield. Some guy in a basement in Ukraine can be flying a drone and then hooking up to that mothership relay and then, right? So now it comes from the idea of technology and warfare making it safer. Okay, this is a subplot of a recent film called Land of Bad, where Russell Crowe does about all that Russell Crowe can do anymore. He sits in a chair in the movie the whole time, and he drives a drone with his golf glove hand, and he's killing. You know, he's facilitating the killing of bad guys on the other side of the world. So it's all good. It's all good. It's patriotic, everybody. So he's helping Thor's little brother Liam, who's like a USAF, you know, PJ or something like that, and he gets stuck on this flight. So he goes into this situation with like tier 1 operators, and he's not a tier 1 operator. And you could tell he's really green. He's green around the gills. He's green from every angle. They make this like this guy doesn't. He's super dependent on his technology. Okay, and there's a conversation they have in a jungle. And the guy, and he's like, well, you know, it makes us safer or whatever. He goes, yeah, keep telling yourself that, dude. He's like, this whole thing where you're not, when you're not killing the other person with your bare hands, basically, you are missing the whole part about like what war is. It comes down to, without those tools, you have to use your hands to take out the enemy. And there was this whole dichotomy. And so, of course, as a subtext of that subplot, technology starts to go on the fritz. Drone has to go back. Now they got to use their wits. How do you do it without technology, right? So that's a whole Guy Ritchie, like, he didn't make that film, but he's the one who like teaches about it. Like there's layers and layers. There's the good guy, bad guy, and then there's other things going on in there. And I think some of the rhetoric in there is just showing people that these war-making companies are so profitable because they just make up different ways to kill people from afar. There would be no profit in hand-to-hand combat. There would be no profit. Well, I can make profitable. We could have a cage match between Zelensky and Putin, Vladimir versus Volodymyr, or whatever their names are, and let them fight it out and leave all the innocent women, children, businesses, people's lives, like their entire life is disrupted because when war happens, it takes time and it takes a toll. And that doesn't need to be a thing that continues to rain down on humanity randomly or even at the schedule of the people starting the wars. We don't need that in our lives. We don't want that in our lives. But we're going to have it until we understand more about the people who do these things and why they get so many other people involved and don't just handle it man to man.
There you go. Gladiator 3, Vladimir versus...
The one that's not
Vladimir.
woke, because I heard Gladiator 2 is pretty woke.
I actually, a group of buddies and friends went and saw it. I went and saw it. It's, you know, it's about what you'd expect. I was more offended about how they filled the Coliseum with water and filled it with sharks, and they had like a mock like ship battle.
Whatever,
I was like,
man.
you guys, come on.
You don't have tensile strength and materials nor the sealants to contain that much water, let alone to
Transport
facilitate
sharks.
live sharks. Yeah, come on. They have to be moving the whole time, bro. You don't have water pump. Yeah, it'd be fascinating how you think they did that, but you're just playing the audience for simpletons.
Yeah.
But there's a big dollar in that for those multi-billion-dollar budgets out there. Hollywood. Hollywood. What a nice place it is. All right. My point was about Putin having probably killed people before. I don't know that Zelensky really has, other than his own soldiers by sending them into a Russian meat grinder. But he doesn't just seem like the type, if you know what I mean. He seems more like the type that would delegate that out, not get his hands dirty, not get his heels messed up. All right, let's change speeds. I do want to show you, LD's going to queue up the Land of Bad trailer before this next block. But the next block is Israel has a ceasefire, Bibi ran out of weapons, and then Hezbollah, of course, gives Israel an excuse to start up the war once they got rearmed, I guess, because it started right back up. Almost like there was no ceasefire. Almost like the delivery that said it wasn't going to be delivered got delivered, and then they're like, oh, there's no need for the ceasefire. How can we get this started back up? So we'll see these clips, and then we'll change topic because we had a lot to cover this week in news.
You are having a very pleasant day. Blessed. Then someone rains on our parade. They removed one cancer just to find another.
It's not the conversation we should be having right now.
We're going after a CIA asset that's been captured.
Is this your first mission in theater, JTAC?
Second.
Do me a favor. Keep up. The last thing we need in this op is have to save your ass.
The hell are these these guys?
Local militia.
Yo, hand over in 5.
I'm ready. I am your eyes in the sky and the bringer of doom.
Subtle. I got movement.
We got a situation. RPG 12 o'clock. Incoming!
Weapons away.
Reaper, you there? Reaper.
We're here, Playboy. You gotta get your ass on the move, son.
Come on, soldier.
Hang in there, okay?
Blackbird, can you stay in the area? Yeah, Genie, abort!
Playboy, are you injured?
Can't talk right now. I get it. This is not where you want to be. Okay, it's not here. It's not here. It's here.
3 hostiles heading your way.
Do not move. There's no way I am off this island.
Remember your training. This is gonna get ugly.
Our priority is protecting the men and women who serve this country.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You gotta move, man.
Get up and go!
CNN breaking news.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is about to speak. I want us to listen in.
The war will not finish until we reach all of its goals, including all of the residents of the north. I'd like to tell you, it will happen exactly as it happened in the south. My friends, residents of the north, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your way you stand, and I'm responsible to your future, to your recovery of your settlements. Till now, due to the heroity of RDF, the police, the Shin Bet, and the Mossad, we reached huge achievements in all fronts, and it causes the world to be in awe of our power. And in the Middle East, first and foremost in Iran, we destroyed a lot of their aerial abilities, the capability of her missiles and her nuclear program. I'm determined to do anything we need in order to prevent Iran from reaching nuclear weapon. This threat is always at the top of my priorities, and moreover today, when you hear the declarations of Iran's leaders in order to be equipped with nuclear power. Removing this threat is the most important task in order to promise our future. We dismantled Hamas battalions, we destroyed Sinwar Def and other seniors, and we brought back 194 of our hostages, and we're determined to bring the rest 101 hostages, to bring back the torture of their families, and we are assured to complete the destruction of Hamas. In Judah and Samaria, we are killing hundreds of terrorists and infrastructure of terrorists, and we are acting in all fronts of terror. In Yemen, we attacked the Houthis, something that the international community didn't do. In Iraq, we prevented many attacks of UAVs. In Syria, we're breaking the trials, the attempts of arming Lebanon from Iran and Hezbollah. Assad needs to know that he's playing with fire. And now in Lebanon, Hezbollah chose to attack us on the 8th of October. It's been a year. It's no longer the same Hezbollah. We brought it back dozens of years. We destroyed Nasrallah, the rest of the senior personnel, its missiles and rockets, thousands of terrorists, and destroyed the underground infrastructure of terror that's been built there for years. We attacked strategic goals around Lebanon, and we make dozens of buildings falling in Beirut, and the ground is trembling there. Citizens of Israel, 3 months ago, it would have been sound science fiction, but it isn't. We did it. And I'd like to say to you, in any given moment, that this war, I'm looking at all fronts. This is how I acted in the beginning of the war, to focus on Gaza and not opening a new front in Lebanon. This is how I acted a few months ago, where conditions were ripe to focus on Hezbollah. This is how I acted when the Iran missile attack happened, when we chose specifically when to retaliate and how. And this is how I act today. I look at all fronts and I see the full picture, and I'm determined to give our soldiers, our hero soldiers, all measures to save their lives and bring back victory. This is why I will bring an agreement for the cabinet. The duration of it will depend on what happens in Lebanon. We keep a whole freedom for military freedom, and if Hezbollah will rearm itself, we will attack. And if he'll fire missiles, if he puts trucks with missiles, we will attack. And I know it's been said that once we agree on a ceasefire, we won't be able to do it. But I remind you, this is exactly what we've been told when we have a ceasefire with Gaza in order to bring back hostages, our hostages. They said we will not be back fighting, and we did, big time. They tell me Hezbollah will keep quiet for a year or two, and then they will attack. But Hezbollah will finish the ceasefire in order to shoot at us in the future. And we will react for any such thing. I know that many do not believe we will do it, but many didn't believe we will go on the ground in Gaza and Shifa and Khan Yunis, and we did. And in front of all the international pressure to enter Rafah and Philadelphia axis, not only we entered, we attacked. And many didn't believe we attacked in Lebanon, and we attacked there as well. In huge power and sophistication that that surprised the world. And after all of that, maybe it's better to believe in our way, in our determination, and our commitment to victory. So why doing ceasefire now? There are three main reasons. First, focusing on the Iranian threat, and I will not expand on that. Two, refreshing the military forces and our equipment. And I'm telling you, as it's not a secret, there's been delays in bringing more weapons and arms, and this delay will finish soon. We will have advanced weaponry that will give us more power to finish our goals. And the third reason for ceasefire, detaching the front of the war from Hamas. From the second war that Hamas pressured Hezbollah to act with him. And now Hezbollah is no longer, and it will help us with the task of bringing our hostages back.
Go ahead, pull it.
We were.
So you could hear clearly sandwiched between numbers 1 and 3 as reasons why the ceasefire. They're waiting on weapons, right? And then he makes this whole big talk about how they're not going to fight. You know, maybe Hezbollah will come back next year, these sort of things. So the way I would phrase between that clip and the next CNN clip would be a few hours later, and then cut to, let's see it.
You are taking a live look right now from southern Lebanon there on your screen. Just days after this ceasefire began between Israel and Hezbollah, a Hamas delegation has reportedly traveled to Egypt for truce talks there. In the wake of the Israel-Hezbollah truce, President Biden said the U.S. would begin new efforts with Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey to restart talks for a ceasefire and a hostage release deal. Senator Lindsey Graham saying President-elect Donald Trump wants to see a Gaza ceasefire deal before he returns to the White House on January 20th. Graham spoke with Axios saying, quote, Trump is more determined than ever to release the hostages and supports a ceasefire that includes a hostage deal. He wants to see it happening now. The senator added, quote, I hope President Trump and the Biden administration will work together during that transition period to release the hostages and get a ceasefire. And again, we are taking a live look from southern Lebanon as that ceasefire does technically remain intact. However, we do have this post coming in from the Israel Defense Forces not too long ago, as they say the IDF is deployed in southern Lebanon and will actively enforce violations of the ceasefire agreement. We are told by the Israel War Room that there have been more violations here, as we've seen weapons that have been smuggled into Lebanon from Syria. As always, a lot to discuss here, so I do want to bring in Mark Chandler, Director of Government Relations and Professor of Practice at Coastal Carolina University. He's also a former senior defense intelligence official. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us early.
You're quite welcome, Josh, and good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to talk about this Hamas delegation that is reportedly going over to Egypt to talk about these truce talks here. With this ceasefire that is in effect there in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah, I have to ask, does that open the door a little bit more for a ceasefire in Gaza, or is that still kind of up in the air?
Well, Josh, this is a very tenuous situation, but I do think we're seeing a possible breakthrough in negotiations with Hamas. You know, if we go back to the time mid-October when Israel killed
Just stop the clip. Stop. I'm pretty sure the question was about Hezbollah, and he mixed it up with Hamas, so I don't think we need to take information from him if he can't tell the difference. That was pretty interesting, you know, Bibi giving this whole thing, and then the next day, a couple hours later, they're back at war and business as usual. So he must have got a replenishment of his weapons. That FedEx must have shown up. Maybe Nikki Haley took too much time to sign the bombs this time or something.
Yeah. Nothing's ever as what it appears, for sure. Yeah.
No. All right, so Bibi aside, we do have a theme of between Putin and Ukraine and Bibi and Hezbollah and Bibi and Hamas and Bibi and whatever else. Like there's like a World War theme, a feel going around the world. So we do have a piece in the next block that is a musical piece that features AI deepfakery, which you might just find entertaining. You might like the song, you might like the video, you might like them both together. I don't know, we'll see. But it does pertain to World War III. It's called The Drill, if you're not familiar with it. We have a clip coming up from Paul Joseph Watson. He says the mystery is solved. I don't remember what the mystery was, but I did mark it for this show card, so we're going to find out again together. And then O'Keefe Media Group, more hidden footage. Did you know that all those types of antics they did around COVID, not just in New York, were made up? Because he's got a National Institutes of Health chief confesses COVID health initiatives were completely made up. I might have suspected strongly. I might have had evidence of that, but I haven't really heard the guy from the NIH say that out loud on tape. So I do want to put that clip into this week's time capsule. And then we have, if there's a bright side of globalism this week, it would be the new Apple commercial, because they went back to pulling on people's heartstrings in a legit way and not kind of beating you over their head with an agenda, which was the trend for the past many years of all these big globalist corporations, virtue signaling, identity politics. They made an ad that, you know, is similar to what some other companies have done in the past around Christmas. They actually made an ad that appealed to an audience that was watching it, which I thought was unusual. And like I said, it's not like I don't use Apple. Scott uses Apple. He'll probably like it. But as a non-Apple, I'm a PC user. I was like, well played, Apple. Like, that's a leadership position. They could tell the tide has changed on that agenda, and they're getting out in front of it. You know, Walmart dropping DEI or Toyota dropping DEI is not the same as Apple saying, we're over here now. And so you wouldn't have seen this ad last year. They would have got, Apple stock would have gone like this last year. I bet Apple stock has gone up because of this ad this year, because of the new political climate, possibly. I don't know.
Well, to clarify, I am a green text message guy. Okay, so I have an Android phone, but I do use a MacBook for the media production stuff. So I would do cop to that. But
is that what people say about us?
I'm not fully.
Users? They call us green text people.
You don't know about this whole thing.
I don't really hang out with a lot of people that use iPhones. To tell you
I'm
the
just
truth.
saying, dude. It's a whole thing. It's like the new racism is the green text message people.
Like my in-laws, my parents, but no one that I know in my social circles.
Well, obviously, nobody worth spending time with will denigrate somebody for their green text messages.
I'm sure it's just an accidental thing. I don't know.
But I will say, like, you know, like in the online dating community, it's like if you meet a gal like on a dating app and you text her, you're like, hey, what's your number? I'll text you. And you have a green text message. I've heard some gals will automatically disqualify you over something.
Good.
Yeah. And I'm like, peace out, bitch.
What color bracelets should we wear?
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of in the dating app realm, so I like study this stuff. You know what I mean, with Unjected. So I've heard stories, and I'm just kind of like, and you know, it's like the online.
Dude,
dating
you're standing on a gold mine before people realize gold is gold. That's like you went to a place that's obvious and like, hey, people are going to need a service here in this area, because there is. It's not even a political belief thing. There's like a biological thing that you might be passing on to the next generation and those around you. There's a whole lot to that research, not to say anything scary. I'm not trying to put people in fear. Become educated about what you participate in. That would be the gist, you know, and stop making other people responsible for your actions. That's another gist. Yeah.
Amen.
Well, in this next bundle of clips, as we head into the holiday season, I think you're gonna. I don't even know what to say about this first video. It's called The Drill. It's by the Door Brothers. Let's just kick off this block, and you can see it for yourself, and then you can figure out why it's funny.
I spin fellas, my swing quicker than Federer. I serve packing the bands back on the regular. And I'ma tell her how she sing for me T-Pain. Your mama's hooked on the packs, I'll be selling her. I click M's and bang them and I'm not saying. I feel his head with the lead like a mukbang. The magazine made me lean when I walk in the drumstick will make a head bang like a punk band. Hop in the cab, I'm banging me crossword up. Head in the west and I'm banging the push bird. Couple of cans and a puff on me death stick. Click on my fingers, he's cutting me cough there. Ringing the bow bells, bringing the website. I'm flinging the dry food, bringing the cassette there. Belling me non-stop, sending the lads there. Hopping me drop top, I'm running the man there. Mr. Big Bucks, I'll be looking at business. Dressed to kill, mama got me up on the hit list. Pole position, had a fella running the distance. I'll be banging, giving the triplets. The bigger the bag, the bigger the butt crack. The bigger the chance, the birds up in my contacts. The figure's a big deal, a pen on the contract. Serve me up, baby, give a tip on me top end. And I'll be whipping the wire, popping a Benson. Pushing a pack, the full stack like I'm benching. Giving the fish scale, that slide like a penguin. Flipping the chick on my bills, why fuck a pension. Slow-mo vision, I've been puffing the peace pipe, selling free fires to the fiends by the seaside. I'ma tear lines in the seams of my Levi's with a stack figure that Nicki Minaj we earn. And I'ma tell her how she sing for me T-Pain. Your mama's hooked on the packs, I'll be selling her. I click Amazon, bang, I'm a nothing. I feel his head with the lead like a mukbang. The magazine made me lean when I walk in the drumstick, I'm making that bang like a pump band. Hop in the cab, I'm banging me crossword up. Head in the west and I'm banging the push bird. Couple of cans and a puff on me death stick. Click on me fingers, he's cutting me cough dead. Ringing the bow bells, bringing the website. I'm flinging the dry food, bringing the cassette. They're belling me non-stop, sending the lads there. Hopping me drop top, I'm running the man there. Mr. Big Bucks, I'll be looking at business. Stressed to kill, mama got me up on a Rick list. Pole position, had a fella running the distance. I'll be banging her, giving her triplets. The bigger the bag, the bigger the bug crack. The bigger the chance the birds up in me contacts. The figure's a big deal, a pen on the contract. Serve me up, Barry, give a tip on me top end. And I'll be whipping a wire, popping a Benson. Pushing a pack, the full stack like I'm benching. Giving the fish scale, that slide like a penguin. Flipping the chick on my bills, why fuck a pension. Slow-mo vision, I've been puffing the peace pipe. Selling free fires to the fiends by the seaside. I'ma tear lines in the seams of my Levi's with a stack figure that Nicki Minaj we earn.
The mystery has finally been solved.
Have you seen videos like this being posted on social media?
These kind of clips of scantily clad young women walking around UK cities like Manchester and Liverpool on a night out have been going viral, mainly on TikTok, for years. Even at one stage igniting a culture war debate about why women were dressing so immodestly, as if they hadn't already been dressing like this on a night out for 30 years. But largely absent from the conversation was one crucial question. Who's the weirdo behind the camera? Well, ladies and gentlemen, they got him.
Please. Okay, so you're being arrested on suspicion of harassment and voyeurism. Okay.
Where are we going now? We're going to a police station, probably Central Park in Manchester. What? No, Manchester.
So who is he?
Where are we going now?
A 27-year-old man from Bradford. Name withheld. From Bradford. Interesting. Very interesting. The BBC reports that such films had gained millions of views and attracted misogynistic comments, which led to a police inquiry. But they failed to disclose the general profile of those who were making such misogynistic comments, which you can kind of get an idea of when you look at the accounts of those who were liking the videos on Facebook. Some kind of pattern here. I think if you watched the original videos, the clues were definitely there. The camperv wasn't arrested for filming in public, which is legal. He was farming the engagement of his loyal fan base to sell them illegal content behind a paywall.
And Greater Manchester Police said as well as the publicly viewed videos, officers also uncovered more content behind a paywall, including suspected non-consensual nudity. GMP said that while filming in public is legal, this filming crosses the line into offences like upskirting, stalking or harassment.
Fascinating, isn't it, how those who were accused of rioting were named, face doxed and publicly shamed by the media within days. But 27-year-old Bradford man gets to keep his anonymity. Police are now deploying in force across central Manchester at night to try to catch more pervs.
Officers are being deployed every Friday and Saturday across Manchester hotspots on the lookout for predatory behaviour.
How we arrived at this situation, one which has even prompted public figures like Tony Cruz to leave major European cities for fear of their daughter's safety, remains a total mystery.
Never before have I felt as unsafe as I do now. When I walk down the street, I'm increasingly being leered at. I'm increasingly being followed like I'm going around the souks of Morocco. And it's not visibly to me anyway, people who were born and bred here. It isn't. And it's very difficult because we're not allowed to talk about it because, oh my gosh, that breaks taboo. Oh, you're a racist if you say this. I'm sorry. A lot of women going about their daily business feel that their safety is being directly threatened by people who are coming from different cultures. And this needs to be discussed because I've had enough. All my other female friends have had enough. When I put this stuff online, the number of comments online from other women saying they've had enough.
There's clearly a crisis of masculinity in the West. Normal, healthy masculinity is being publicly shamed, denigrated, labelled toxic masculinity, while our governments simultaneously import vast numbers of young men, some of whom have views towards women which are actually toxic. Meanwhile, our environment is polluted by all kinds of crap that's turning men more feminine. Estrogenic chemicals in plastics, bisphenol A. Testosterone levels have been declining year upon year. Sperm counts are decreasing exponentially. They want you demoralised, they want you weak, they want you low T. So what can you do to the UK in the year ending June 2023 was revised up to a jaw-dropping 906,000. Nearly a million net migration in a single year. 166,000 more than previously thought. Whoops, we just misplaced 166,000 people. A rise so steep that for the latest year, they're celebrating the fact that net migration dropped by 20% to just 728,000. Wow, only 728,000 people coming in a single year. What a minuscule number. To put that into perspective, in the last 12 months to June 2024, Britain welcomed a new non-British migrant every 30 seconds. 2 a minute every minute. And they're celebrating this supposed massive percentage drop. Of the 1.2 million people who came to live in the UK in that time, around 86%, 1 million, were non-EU nationals. Indian, 240,000, Nigerian, 120,000, Pakistani, 101,000, Chinese, 78,000, Zimbabwean, 36,000. In the space of one single year alone.
We've even learned that 86% of all migration into Britain today is coming from outside of Europe. Much of it is low skill, low wage, culturally incompatible forms of migration, people with very different values, beliefs, traditions, and religions. This is not only making us poorer, it's undermining our social fabric.
All this after we supposedly voted to take back control of our borders under Brexit. We're adding to our population every year in terms of non-EU migrants, a city almost the size of Birmingham. The UK's second largest city every year.
I've just done the calculations on that estimate now. We are expected to have 71 million people in this country by mid-26. That's 1 million more than the ONS has said. Yeah. And we're looking at towards 80 million by that 2036 figures. That's 10 million in 10 years. Yeah. At this level of growth, it's unsustainable for this country. And we should be shocked by this. We should be really worried too.
And leftists still express amazement and wonder at why housing is so unaffordable, why our roads are jammed, why public services are crumbling, why the NHS is stretched to breaking point, why violent crime and the type of crimes that were once uncommon in the UK are now commonplace. Why councils can't even collect your bins more than once every 3 weeks, even as they're charging more money every year. And they're still claiming long-term immigration will be around 300,000, even as they revise up the already huge numbers every single time.
Don't listen to the lies that are being told that it's fallen by 20% year on year, because they revised the previous year upwards by 170,000. If you want a party that gives you mass immigration, if you want a party that makes sure you can't get a GP appointment, you can't get your kid into a local school, getting on the housing ladder becomes impossible, that your roads are congested and that the whole country gets poorer, vote Conservative. Or have a Labour government that probably will be even worse.
We also learned that the UK government spent a whopping $5.38 billion of taxpayer money on the asylum system alone, a rise of 36% on the previous year, 4 times the amount they just saved by slashing winter fuel payments for pensioners. Sorry, Peter, it's going to be a long, cold winter. We've got new priorities now. Oh, it's going to be nice and cosy at the local migrant hotel. Not so warm in Peter's bungalow. You gotta love diversity.
What do you think about the NIH now that you were working there?
Probably shouldn't be like saying this out loud. They might have funded a lab in Wuhan, China, to like make Coke. And Pfizer and Moderna are just getting a bunch of money from it, from all these vaccine mandates.
Roger Cholin is with the National Institute of Health.
For other vaccines, like measles or whatever, you had to go through several rounds of approval, but these were accelerated through the approvals.
Do you think that the mRNA stuff is safe? It's like really affected people with the myocarditis stuff?
I think we're all going to learn when it's too late.
I think that's important. The lack of effectiveness of the vaccine product.
Like the 6-foot rule, remember that? Like that wasn't like based on any real evidence that did anything. It was completely made up.
Well, what do you think? Like what happened? Like be real with
Roger then brings up politics, talks about which political party he prefers and what would happen to him and NIH under an incoming Trump administration.
I think it would be worse for the NIH. I think it would be better for a Democrat to be in office. We sometimes fly under the radar of like the really scrutinized. I don't think it would impact me. I don't think I have too much to worry about. That's not recording, right?
Roger Cholin is with the National Institute of Health, or NIH, and has only been on the job for 2 months.
All the other branch chiefs are like 55.
Wow.
And I don't know shit. I know about the like subject matter, but I don't know about any of the government, like how budgets work or how like the hierarchy works.
In his role, Cholin oversees 40 people and heads up the Health Data Standards Branch for a division of NIH called the National Library of Medicine.
So the U.S. National Library of Medicine, you can think of it as the nation's health library. All the major peer-reviewed journals are there, and they have electronic databases, electronic cataloging. They manage the PubMed application that makes all this information available to the general public. They manage clinicaltrials.gov, which is the application that summarizes clinical trial results. And it appears that what Mr. Cholin's division, this health data standards, is responsible for is analysis of visual data. This is X-ray and MRI data, analyze and develop new capabilities that will make these kinds of information and data more generally available for searching.
While he admits he may know nothing about the bureaucracy, he says he knows a lot about public health.
What do you think about the NIH now that you were working there? Obviously, lots of conspiracies about my cousin is like
about Fauci.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. So I'm not. Probably shouldn't be like saying this out loud. I haven't gotten the latest COVID shots, and I'm not going to. There's mixed evidence about if it really does anything.
Cholin then goes on to tell our undercover journalist that people under 30 are more at risk for heart conditions from the COVID vaccine.
For people that are like 30 or under, it really increases your risk for like heart conditions. The data does show that. I don't even know if these vaccines stop you from getting COVID. They don't.
Really?
I don't think so. Like, it's supposed to make you less sick if you get it. I don't know if it really prevents the transmission of it.
He is speaking casually, candidly, about the risks of the virus, the risks of the vaccine product, particularly as it relates to myocarditis, the lack of effectiveness of the vaccine product. He's saying that it doesn't prevent infection. It doesn't prevent disease. These are statements that I had made back a few years ago that I was called a liar for saying by the Washington Post.
But now there is some like evidence out that NIAID, National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Disease, that's where Fauci was the director.
Okay.
Like they might have funded some labs to like do vaccine studies and like disease, like to prepare for an outbreak. They might have funded a lab in Wuhan, China, to like make Coke. But I believe in the science. I don't believe, like, it seems like too much of a big conspiracy. And generally, now that I'm a Fed, like, people in the government do want to do the right thing. Everyone's there kind of behind this, like, at least maybe more so at NIH or in Health and Human Services. People like want to help people improve health. So I don't know that I believe that these people are all like trying to spread a virus and then like.
What if they work?
Then they should go to jail. If NIAID and Fauci were actually doing this, if the proof comes out that they were funding it, maybe they were actually funding it just to like be prepared and shit went wrong. They were trying to study a virus so that when it did break, if and when it did break, we would be prepared for the response to it. But instead, they accidentally funded the thing that like caused it. I don't know. But hopefully the intentions were good up front. It doesn't like excuse them outright, but I don't know. Like the 6-foot rule, remember that? Like that wasn't like based on any real evidence that did anything.
Really?
It was just and again, I think they were just trying to do the right thing, but it was completely made up. If they had said 5 feet versus 6 feet, right, or 7 feet, like it was all just they just made it up.
Does anyone really trust the healthcare system? Well, thankfully, there still are some good guys left in healthcare, like our great friends at the Wellness Company. The Wellness Company has been with OMG since unethical behavior, whether he's doing his job or just following orders. But we wanted you, the viewer, to be the judge of that.
Do you think that those, like the mRNA stuff is safe? There evidence showing like myocarditis or something like that?
It definitely increases your risk for that. I think that's well known now. And Pfizer and Moderna are just getting a bunch of money from it.
From what?
From all these vaccine mandates. I think for other vaccines, like measles or whatever, you have to go through several rounds of approval and submit a bunch of data to prove about like side effects and things. But these were accelerated through the approvals to rush them for all of us to get our boosters. And they made millions of dollars.
You think it's like really effective people? The myocarditis stuff?
I think we're all going to learn when it's too late.
What would make it too late?
Like it's going to already have been 10 years down the road, and then a bunch of people will have gotten like all 10 boosters.
Why do you not want to get them again?
If I'm going to get COVID anyway, and I'm going to be all right, why increase my risk for the known myocarditis?
The very foundation of journalism is to get answers. A common technique by which to do that is called a FOIA, or Freedom of Information Act request. We've submitted many FOIAs, particularly for body cam footage. But then this government official tells our undercover journalists that NIH is intentionally giving orders to make getting a FOIA even more difficult.
Is there anything that, like, if you found out that you would be like, oh, man, that would change your family?
So do you know what FOIA is? Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
So, like, the press or whoever can, like, request from the government, like, show us emails or whatever.
Yeah.
This article claims that they were, like, misspelling words on purpose. So then if there was a FOIA request for whatever, coronavirus, they misspelled corona. They were instructed to misspell it on purpose so it wouldn't return on the search.
Wow. Who's requesting FOIA?
I think it's journalists.
Roger then brings up politics, talks about which political party he prefers and what would happen to him and NIH under an incoming Trump administration.
Well, what do you think? Like, what would happen if he were to be reelected?
I think it would be worse for the NIH. I think it would be better for a Democrat to be in office.
Why? What makes you say that?
There's some like Section F, but I don't even know what Section F means. It's supposed to be proposed cuts to NIH. I think where I work at the NLM Law Library, we sometimes fly under the radar. Of like the really scrutinized. I don't think I have too much to worry about either.
No, just like the whole connection with like RFK is just like insane to me. Absolutely insane, because he just seems like a total
What happened with RFK specifically?
Well, he's like just super
anti-vax,
or anti-vax, like anti-science, like anti-big pharma. You know what I mean? I think he's like Trump has said that he would want to have RFK in his I don't even know. Like, does that make you question?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think it would impact me.
I just wonder, like if I was working in that department, you know what I mean? I'd be like pretty concerned. Like I wonder,
a lot of people would probably get fired, or they would retire, and so then you would just be left with a bunch of institutes and divisions that like are understaffed, and so anything that RFK would want to do probably would just like work. That's my guess.
So Raja questions the vaccine companies colluding, skipping approvals, and creating false guidelines. It all just seems like a bunch of buffoonery. It all seems contradictory. And the question again, is this villainous behavior? Is this corrupt behavior? Is this just government incompetence? To quote Raja, is this just a guy who, quote, knows shit about nothing? But he clearly knows some things about something. And he says he knows a lot about public health. And the real question is, are these the type of people we want in our government making medical decisions? And that question might be answered by the incoming HHS Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy. Stay tuned.
Wait, hold on. Do you know about like honeypotting? People that like get asked on dates and then they get asked questions about their work and then they're like recorded. This is I
what
feel
are you
like
talking about?
well, now you're like asking me my opinion about these conspiracies. I feel like I'm not supposed to answer.
No,
that's not recording, right?
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. The reason why this ad failed so humiliatingly and miserably for Jaguar is not because there isn't a car in the advertisement. It's not because of this avant-garde, humiliating, embarrassing pastel vomit drivel of whatever postmodernist message it's trying to send here, this guy in a dress and a sledgehammer. No, it's not even that. It's that everyone knows that these people aren't happy. Everyone knows that this isn't actually what joy looks like, happiness looks like. Not only do they look literally miserable in their uncomfortable outfits, but this isn't actually something that is bringing bettering your life in any way, which is what advertising is supposed to do. At its core, a good advertisement is supposed to demonstrate how does a product make your life better. Do these people look happy? Do they look like their lives are better? No, they look miserable, actually. There's nothing about that makes anyone's life better. It doesn't even feature the damn product. Every study that's ever been done on human happiness points to a single root issue that is a determinator as to whether you're going to live a happy life or a miserable life. And that's family. Every study that's ever been done, here's an 80-year study from Harvard. After 80 years, is proved that embracing your community, finding someone to love, living with someone for a long time, people who were the most satisfied with their relationships at 50 were the healthiest at 80. Family. Starting a family, being part of a family, being part of a community, and having relationships. This is what makes people happy. That's it. And the science is, as they say, settled. Now, I experience this in my every single daily life with my kids, my wife, and my family, and we're having more kids because it's great. I can tell you this from personal experience. This is the opposite of what happiness actually is, scientifically measured. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to see advertisers finally get their heads screwed on straight, destroy whatever woke mind virus had infected their brains like brain worms, and actually produce ads that show people how a product is making their lives better and how using family and the actual vectors of happiness in life to tell a story. And Apple's done that. I posted this yesterday. I'm stunned. Apple just released the single greatest pro-parenting ad in the history of American advertising. The pro-family cultural revolution is here. Try not to cry. Full disclosure, I cried when I watched this ad. This has done 6 million views on my page and 21,000 reposts and 115,000 likes and 20,000 saves, 5,000 comments. So this thing hit. Here we go. The most pro-family ad to ever be created. possibly in American history. Go.
It last week. I think I know what it is. Are you serious? Guys, thank you. The color that you wanted. No, this is Dad said this is the one that came to the eyeglass the other day in the store.
I got the moon. John, listen.
Light the fire. You place the flowers in the vase that you bought today.
I'm so excited. Here you go. Haley. Happy birthday. Look at the picture of me and you, Daddy. Look at the moon. Daddy, take a wheel. I am a robot. What is that?
See ya. Everything is easy 'cause of
I love you, Papa.
It's tough, guys, right? It's tough. You can't get through, I just have something in both my eyes, right? Don't worry. It's just that I have something in both my eyes right now. I'm sorry. I'm not crying. All right. I'm not crying. Tim Cook of Apple saying Thanksgiving is about giving thanks for each other and the hope and the happiness and prosperity. This year, I'm giving thanks for the many possibilities ahead and the people in my life, including the team at Apple. It's like even Elon Musk said, this is cool about this advertisement. This is us winning culture. We've won. The avant-garde, anti-family, self-obsession, drivel, this postmodernism that has tried to atomize the family, it's failed. And we are back in charge. The people who actually create better lives. And the major motivation to do that is to have children, have a family, start a family, fall in love, be a good husband, show up. And it's amazing how universal that is. How it actually anchors you as a person to the ancestors, to your ancestors, who without them you wouldn't be here, and to a future, because you then start living and investing for something beyond yourself and living for someone beyond yourself. Any parent knows this the moment they hold their child. The moment you hold your children for the first time, you immediately start living for something other than yourself. It's profound and it's so good for you, actually. That's where happiness actually springs eternal. It's not the first time. Apple's not the first company to have embraced this. There have been others that have done it quite well, in fact. As the polar opposite of the Jaguar ad, Volvo released an ad earlier this week that was like the antidote, medical antidote to this. It was beautiful. I can't believe it. Volvo.
Hey.
Hey. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
Hey, love.
Hey, Mom.
How are you guys? How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
Something wrong?
No, but we've actually got something to tell you. Kate's pregnant.
Oh, I'm joking.
You're gonna be a grandma.
Oh my God. scared to sleep?
I'm scared, Mum.
Why are you scared?
About it all, you know. The nights, the responsibility, like, we're gonna need a bigger place.
Help with all that.
I know, bless you, you're so sweet. I've got this feeling that we're gonna have a daughter. Just as stubborn as her mum.
Well, hopefully not. The family's knows.
Now that's a legacy she might have to live with. She might be the reason we tied a knot.
What if I don't do good in class?
I just want to say and do the right things, you know? I want to see the world with her. I'll also be happy staying home, doing nothing, letting her be a kid.
Are you awake?
Number 32.
Thank you.
I want to see her fall in love. But I also know what that means. And I know she's gonna bend the rules just like I did. And one day I'll have to let her go.
It's gonna be hot every single day.
I'm excited to hear what she learns about the world, herself, what she adores, what she hates. I hope she likes the name we give her.
Have you thought of any?
It all depends. We like Leia.
And finally, one of our favorites of all time, an ad from Germany, of all places, from a health company, but showing exactly why you want to stay healthy, you want to be healthy. Remember, all scientific studies say that the pathway to happiness is relationships and family. And longevity. This is the key. This is the key. Here it is, the fountain of youth. Ladies and gentlemen, this company nailed it. Here we go. Merry Christmas.
Go ahead, pull that. All right, so that either warmed your heart or melted some hearts out there. Not sure which. In that last one, yeah, we did see that last year, but it's still good. Jaguar,
I don't know, man.
Jaguar trolled themselves, man. It's like, I don't know. Did Volvo have a leak of what Jaguar was doing? And they're like, let's do the equal and opposite. It was a little drawn out, right? Like Apple was more succinct and on point. And you're like, it's pretty cool.
I don't know, man. I'm over here having a completely opposite reaction to all of this. Completely, dude. I have a lot of notes. They're all capital letter notes over here. I'm just like, no, you guys. Okay, so I'm not a TV person. I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV. I don't expose myself to commercials, advertisements, and to me, it infuriates me to feel like this is an emotional manipulation. These corporations that are
100%.
still, exactly. They're still anti-human, eugenicists. They don't care about you. They're just seeing an opportunity. They're like jackals. They're like hyenas. They're like scavengers that are picking the bones of what they see to be the most advantageous situation. They're skin suiting freedom and liberty and healthy families, and they're trying to portray to get you. And the fact that Benny's like going along, like, come on, dude, like. I thought you were a truther, man.
That's a good verb right there.
Yes,
that's like
dude.
Out of They Live.
Yes, exactly. Right? It's like, come on, Benny. I thought you were a truther, man. Like what I saw in that Apple commercial was a failed parent who put his kid in a mask. Okay, I am not putting up with any of this bullshit. Right? Not at all. No,
bro, but he was hearing impaired, and then he could hear the music.
Yeah, no, this is not having any of that, dude.
You're not having it. You're not getting your heartstrings pulled on.
No, man. I feel
your heart didn't grow 10 sizes that day.
No, dude. No. I feel the tendrils of emotional manipulation reaching through the screen, and I'm just like, be gone with you in the name of Jesus. Get out.
Can we get a sound clip of you saying humbug?
Bah humbug, dude. Bah humbug. Yes.
I think Benny was legit just drawn into the holiday nostalgia, and there was something positive going on. After seeing that Jaguar video, I would have made a similar video if I did that thing for a living.
But it's but don't you see what's going on here? It's
I do.
It's like the Chris Cuomo situation where it's like, you
rebranding.
You're rebranding yourself, and they're trying to slide like, hey guys. It's like the Steve Buscemi with the skateboard meme where it's like, hey fellow truthers, how you guys doing? Right? It's like, no, I'm no passes for Chris Cuomo, no passes for Apple. You're not welcome in our club. No.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have some more comedy coming up. We do have some information about not a Fed, Ray Epps, whose defamation case got dismissed. So maybe he is. I don't know. We'll have to see. But he did try to play like, you can't call me that. Well, court says you can. But I'll still say, not a Fed, Ray Epps, because that's how Viva Fry, the lawyer who brings us that clip, covers it. But that's not in this block. That's a foreshadowing of things to come.
Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happen. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man.